We're back. We're going to do a quick tools of the trade video for the J12. You know, if you've seen the tools of the trade for the Series 6 and those type of guns, you already have the tools that you need. In fact, you probably have too many, but I do want to do this video to show you what tools are basically needed for the J12 and get you sort of set up moving in that direction if this is your first marker. So if this is your first marker in your, or if this is your first foray in a CCM, this should be the first video that you watch onto the J12 and you'll get a good start. Plus we've got guest star here, Yoda, who will be helping us with the force that it takes to take apart a CCM marker. So I appreciate you coming down, Yoda, and we'll set you aside. Let me know if there's anything over here.
Sit aside, I will.
Okay, so in the J12, it's become a very simple marker to break down, and we're going to do this step by step in the videos. And the primary tool that you're going to use is a set of Allen keys, and you only need American Allen keys for this marker. This marker is completely made in America. In fact, I think you only need 5, and we'll go through this as we go. But if it were me, and if you're a tech, I would get a good set of ball end Allen keys. Pay the extra money. Not that you need to pay a lot. This is made by Husky. It's not top dollar by any means, but it served me very well. This attaches to a matrix side, and get them both, if you need them. And then you have a good set just set aside in your toolkit. And I would get loose ones. Some people use the ones that flip open and they look like a Swiss Army knife or something. Get loose ones. They're just so much easier to use. And get ball end. Ball end allows you to sort of come in at an angle on some of these things. Although this marker really doesn't need it, but it lets you come in at an angle and still work. And then if you need the full end, you use this end over here. So Allen keys, a must. Spend the extra money and just go do it. So that's number one. You could, in theory, someday at some point need a cocker valve tool or a sniper valve tool. And that's been a specialty tool since the very beginning. What this tool does is allows you to take out the jam nut that holds the valve in place. Now, this marker is very different, and you'll see that during the valve section that we get to. This marker is different. You used to, it was very common to take out the valve body and not just the valve pin here. It was very common to take that apart. And the reason you use sort of a special tool, yes, that is just an Allen key, but it's been bored out so that you can put it in, go past this valve when it's in place, this valve pin. But you might need to someday, the way this marker is made is this static O-ring right here sits in place, it's set in place from the factory, and unless it's leaking, and it would be very rare that it would leak, you don't need this tool. So if someone someone on the team has one, or someone has one, I'd leave it. I really wouldn't. You don't need to own one. CCM does sell them. You'll see them online. If you find one cheap, on a good site that has reputable sellers like M. Carter Brown, things like that, pick one up. But if not, it's not a must if only thing you own is a J12. Now, of course, if this is your second marker, third marker in the CCM series, then yeah, pick one up. You're going to need one. And every now and again, it pays to take those out, valve that, or lube that O-ring, and put it back together. So not stupid to have one, but if you don't have one, it's not a must with the J12. Lubrication, we were just talking about lubrication. It comes in, all sorts of different sizes, shapes, colors, and fashions, but with this marker, if you had just one of these hater sauces or a good Dow 55, Dow 33, something like that, but frankly, I would pick up a hater marmalade and call it a day. Or if you're in warmer climates at all times, hater this green stuff, which I think is just Dow with a color added. I would pick up some of that, and frankly, I think I picked this up for 12 bucks. This is 2 years old, and that's all I've used, and it's in perfect condition. I used off the cap for like the first 6 months. You just don't need much, and it works. You're only going to use it for this marker in the regulator, and if you ever do reset that that valve body seat, you're going to use it there. Beyond that, that's the only place you're going to use it. So one or two of these would be grand, and you'll be set. I use Tri-Flow on a lot of the different other parts of the marker. The hammer, this guide rod right here, this rod here as well, I'll put a drop on it, and of course the bolt. And here's the reason why. Triflow is one of the few lubricants out there that doesn't swell Delrin. So the reality is that you can use it on anything in the gun, and you're not going to have a problem with any part in there. Some other lubricants can swell Delrin and cause binding when you're trying to cause, it to be more viscous and sort of go against what you're doing. I'll use Triflow on pretty much everything, the trigger, everything else throughout the whole thing. Now, if you did have some Triflow and some Gold Cup, and you wanted to use, this Gold Cup is sort of a universal, or even air tool oil, it's what Palmer's used for years, and no problem with them. You could use that as well. If it were me, this gun here is a high-end, high-precision, billet made to CNC specifications that are just ridiculous tolerances in terms of paint guns. Especially if you're used to using a marker that was made overseas, and things like that, the tolerances are much tighter. Spend the extra money, the extra $2, $3, $4 and buy a higher end lubricant. KC Concepts made one for a while. They made an air system one, and they made a sort of a blue one. I loved that stuff, and I would still pick it up if I could find it. Triflow is excellent. Where do you find it? Bike shops. Oddly enough, try your local hardware store. If they don't have it, try a bike shop. This is what they use on their chains. And highly recommended. And get the drip bottle. It's a little bit easier to use. Mine's from Bike Barn here in Houston. $5, and I bet you this bottle will last me 5 years. So just spend the extra money. You will be happier in the long run doing so, putting it on a high-end marker like this. What else? The rest is stuff that's just sort of little and in your kit. A fleece swab. It's not stupid to have a fleece swab in your kit so that you can clean out any stuff that's in the lower tube or whatever else. Is it necessary? Not so much, but you probably have one. And I would set one aside to keep it, that's your teching one. The ones you carry on the field, they just get disgusting, and you end up dirtying up a marker when you're trying to clean it, Not the best idea. A pick. This is just simply a pick you can buy at Home Depot and things like that. Now, if you have any dental friends, if you have anybody in the dental industry, have them gank you a couple of those picks. Those are high end. And what happens is those go bad after a time, or they get sharpened to the point where they can't be really used in mouths anymore. Get some of those. Man, 1 or 2 of those makes life so much easier. There's an O-ring in this bottom regulator that if it ever did go bad, it's not going to go bad real often either, but if it ever did go bad, you're going to need a pick to get it out, and then you're going to need to put it back in, with your pinky or something to reseat that. So it's good to have a pick in your kit. Cloth. I have a little bin that I keep sort of separate for all the stuff that I clean. Whether it's knives that I sharpen, whatever else it is, I keep a little bin with clean cloths in it. 100% cotton if I can. This is an old tea towel, that it got old in the kitchen. You buy a bag of shop rags, good ones, the ones that are like red or blue, and wash them right up right away. No softener or anything like that in it. Run it, with regular detergent, or frankly, I would run vinegar in the wash and vinegar in the softener cycle. Keep it clean, keeps the chemicals off of it. It will never react with anything you've got going on in the gun. You can wipe everything down and clean everything up, and then wash them again in a batch and put them aside. It's a little anal, I know, but then you've always got good, clean shop rags, and you're not trying to find some old sweat rag or some god-awful thing or your jersey to wipe off something, A spray bottle. This is an old Nick Wax bottle. I've had this thing forever. I gotta tell you, some good spray bottles are sort of hard to find. And so when you find one, you keep it, There is one that I'm using now in the garage that is made by WD-40. I'm sure it's not made by WD-40, it's sold by WD-40. You can go to the hardware store and pick it up, and it's just a spray bottle, and you can add stuff to the side. What's in here? Drop or 2 of dish soap. I literally mean a drop or 2. You don't want much. You want to be able to cut some grease. Warm water, and a little bit of alcohol, rubbing alcohol. You don't have to add the rubbing alcohol, and if you're using it on goggles, don't use this on your goggles. So what a lot of people do is just soap and water, a little bit of soap and water. It doesn't need anything magical, I like rubbing alcohol on the field because it tends to dry quickly. I can put the gun back together, and I can go play. So you'll be good to go with that. One more tool that I did forget for this particular marker is a pair of needle nose pliers. So grab a cheap one of those. If it were me, I would stop at a hardware store, grab one that just goes in your kit. It stays in your kit, and that's where it goes, and you're going to be good to go. One other thing that you might want to pick up and keep with you is a sharp knife. And if you have, even if you just toss a razor blade in there with the cardboard cover on it, in case you ever need to replace this macro line, you have a sharp blade to cut that on a perfect 90-degree and put it back together. Okay? Beyond this set of tools, and it's a fairly small set of tools, you're going to need just some of the replacement O-rings that come with that are necessary on the J12, and there are very few. However, I don't want to put that in this video to clutter it up. I want to go do that as we go, and I'll get a parts list together. Usually what CCM has done in the past is they'll put together sort of the high wear O-rings and seals, and they'll put a small kit together if you ever want to buy it. And so that's a really good idea to have. Is a small kit, and there are very few O-rings on this guy that are going to wear and go bad. So having those on the field will save a day if this is your only marker. You know, you go out there and you get a small leak. You know what you're doing. You've watched the video series. You've printed off the manual that I will write very, very soon, and it's sitting in your kit. You know how to fix it, but you don't have the right O-ring. You know, you got to pack up and go home. But you can save a day if you've got just a few tools on your hands and a few seals and O-rings on your hands. That's it for this video. Like I said, just the bare bones. I want to show you what to have. If you've got this, you're going to be good to go. When we do cover the regulator, I will talk about the reg pressure tester. It's not a necessity. I will have one for the video. I'm not necessarily recommending it for the kit because it's one of those things that once you set, you can leave alone. If you had 3 J12s amongst your friends and one of you had a pressure tester, you're going to be fine. It's just like this, you know. If you and a buddy all bought J12s and you want to go in on one tool and you buy the air pressure and you share them, then I think that's a good idea. So that's it for this video. I appreciate you watching. Hang around for the rest of them. Thanks.